Hey friends, this might be the video to do dead tired first thing in the morning like I'm gonna do it because, well, let me tell you, a 5-4 loss for the Edmonton Oilers last night. One that I think a lot of Oilers fans were just like, huh, what? Excuse me, what happened just now? And I think a lot of people across the province of Alberta and across Canada went to bed. Wow, that just happened. And I think a lot of folks in Vancouver would be saying, well, and I read the comment section, that's just what the Canucks do. Well, I will tell you, it's interesting to see after one game kind of where we're all sitting at, right? Obviously, there is plenty to be excited about for both teams after game number one. I'm not saying excited in a positive light for the Oilers fans, but hey, you know what? Still excited nonetheless about the Oilers kind of not exactly holding the lead down when it was 4-1. So if you're new to the channel, friends, let's consider hitting that subscribe button here this morning, this afternoon, whenever you're tuning in for this morning edition of kind of a secondary post game. But for the Edmonton Oilers last night, the Canucks just never went away, right? I think a lot of folks will say the Canucks were the better team, but I really don't care who was the better team. If you're up 4-1 in the playoffs and it's game one of the series, you got to find a way to hold that lead. I don't care if the Canucks are 5 times better than you the rest of the way home after you go up 4-1. You got to find a way to hold that lead. That's, of course, why in the post game last night I called it a choke job for the Oilers. Is you can't be up 3 goals and just because the Canucks are a good team, you give it away and lose 5-4 in regulation. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for a single Oilers fan. Yes, I understand that works for Canucks fans, but again, it's inexcusable from an Edmonton Oilers point of view. So that's where we kind of start off, right? The Canucks obviously are quite a step above what the LA Kings are because the LA Kings, obviously, if they would have been down 4-1 in the fashion the Oilers were playing, wouldn't have been able to generate much offense the rest of the way home. The Canucks, though, as we saw in that Nashville series and as we saw in game one, just able to keep attacking in waves and really just limit the Oilers as well. So for the Oilers, I think to kind of look at what happened in that game with a 2020 hindsight vision is you see the Oilers were a very different team prior to Leon Draisaitl getting the stiff arm or whatever forearm in the back from Tyler Myers, and then from there, Draisaitl goes missing most of the second period, and the Oilers just fail to generate anything. And that's kind of unusual for the Oilers, right? It's usually you lose Connor McDavid and the Oilers fail to generate anything. But Draisaitl's obviously a big time contributor in the playoffs, and I think we said it well on the live stream there last night. There was a chat that came in that said in the second and third period it was going to be up to the Oilers' third and fourth lines to contribute some offense and really come through with what would be a big finish to the hockey game. And what you don't see there is any third or fourth line offense, right? It was Matthias Ekholm, Cody Ceci with the bonus goals, I guess you'd say, for the Edmonton Oilers, the unexpected goals, Zach Hyman with the other two. So I know a lot is being made about how quiet Connor McDavid was as well in game one. Well, what I'll tell you about Connor McDavid being quiet in game one is look out for game two, right? That doesn't bode well for the Canucks fans. If you think you bottled up Connor McDavid, any team that's bottled up Connor McDavid over the past several years in the playoffs has kind of paid for it in game two. This may be reminiscent of, I know a lot of people are saying it's the worst playoff game Connor McDavid's ever played. Go back to game one against the Chicago Blackhawks in the bubble because that was far and above the worst game you will ever see Connor McDavid play. And my goodness, did he deliver results in the only game, game two, that the Oilers won in that play-in series. So stay tuned. That's on that front, no cause for concern because Connor McDavid is and always will be Connor McDavid at the end of the day. So for the Canucks, I think there is cause for concern as well. You kind of saw some of those situations where the Oilers scored goals. Chilvas, I don't think is going to be quite exactly what he was in the Nashville series, but I said it best in the Oilers video there I did about the Oilers will destroy the Vancouver Canucks is it's if, right? There's so many layers to the Oilers game that has to come up perfect to beat a team like the Vancouver Canucks. And that said, the Canucks have to be pretty dang perfect too. So this is where this series is really going to get interesting. I never, even in that video, I didn't say the Oilers were going to sweep the Canucks. I haven't seen anyone say the Oilers are going to sweep the Canucks. I've seen a lot of Oilers in 5 or 6, and now that still lines up on the table here. And what I'd be really sitting here thinking for the Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks is Game 2 is going to be very interesting to see just how much the crowd plays through. I know I made mention of that in the post game last night, but if the Oilers can really set the tone early, which they did on the power play, but again, I think setting the tone in the playoffs is not about getting that cheeky power play goal that the Oilers so often do either at the start or end of a period. No, it's more about really going out there, taking care of business, getting shots on net, driving offensive play, and maybe scoring a couple 5-on-5 goals right out of the gate, right? Really start to dictate the game, how it's going to be played, even strength, and then get to the special teams. And that special teams for the Oilers should not be how you build your lead. Special teams for the Oilers should not be how you win the game. It should be about demoralizing your opponent and really kind of finding a way to just keep them at bay for those 2 minutes every single time. So what the Oilers did on the penalty kill was phenomenal in game 1. But in game number 2, you have to really hope that, again, the Oilers kind of don't stop moving their feet and stop attacking the net like they did in period 2 and 3 of game 1, because that is why you did not see any penalty calls the rest of the way home against the Vancouver Canucks. Yes, I know everyone's talking about the puck thrown out of the Canucks defensive zone. Again, the referees looked right at that and let that go, so I'm not going to get too up in arms about that at all, because it's just not my position to really freak out about it in game 1. Again, if that's an overtime call in game 6 and the Canucks come back the other way on a breakaway because of that and score the game-winning goal, maybe. But I think, too, as well, there is a possibility that might be, I'm not sure, somebody might have to correct me here, but that might be a challengeable play by Chris Knoblauch. And again, now talking about Chris Knoblauch, we get to the timeout that wasn't called after it was 4-4. That is one thing that is kind of strange, right? You think, Tyson, you're crediting the fans post-game on how just crazy they were, especially as the Canucks scored 2, 3, 4, ultimately 5. You think with how crazy the fans were, maybe Chris Knoblauch would have called a timeout in the 4-4 hockey game at that point. That said, you give the fans 30 more seconds to just go bananas. Maybe it doesn't work out in your favor, right? Hindsight is 2020, and I'm sure Chris Knoblauch post-game had a good reflection on that. But friends, that is where I'm going to leave you this morning. We got to get off to work, but just some more expanded thoughts here post-game, post-day, game day, here going into game 2 on Friday. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thanks so much for being aboard. I am up on out of here.